The topic for this session is hoarseness of voice. Hoarseness is a symptom and not a disease. And this is something we have to understand because when a patient comes with a change of voice or hoarse voice, we have to take a good history and examine the patient and identify the disease which is causing the change of voice. In simple terms, if one has to define what is hoarseness of voice, if you were to check a dictionary, is defined as any change in the quality of human voice. And even when a patient presents to you, they may come with the symptom of change of voice. But in medical terms, to define hoarseness, it is defined as roughness of voice due to variations of periodicity and or intensity of consecutive sound waves. Now, to understand this definition, let us understand the anatomy of the vocal cords and what is the cause of production of voice. For normal voice production, vocal cords should be able to approximate properly with each other. As you see in the picture below, you can see the vocal cords are in the abducted position, and then the second picture, and on the third picture the vocal cord comes to the abducted position, which shows the movement of the vocal cords, and they should be able to approximate properly for normal voice. They should have proper size and stiffness. If there is any change in the size or stiffness, as in Rinke's edema, there will be change in voice. And they should have an ability to vibrate regularly in response to air column. So that is why the definition of hoarseness is defined as roughness of voice resulting from variations of periodicity or intensity of consecutive sound waves. Any condition which interferes with these functions causes a hoarseness, loss of approximation. In case of vocal cord paralysis, now you can see in this picture, the right vocal cord is abducted while there is left vocal cord paralysis. So the right vocal cord will move to the median position, but due to paralysis, the left vocal cord cannot meet the right vocal cord, and so when the patient speaks, there will be hoarseness of voice because of loss of approximation. Size of vocal cord, edema of the vocal cord, or any tumor which comes between the vocal cords can cause change of voice. Stiffness, any decrease in stiffness of the vocal cords, like in case of paralysis, or very increase in stiffness as in spastic dysphonia, can cause change of voice. Causes of hoarseness of voice. It can be further classified into inflammations, tumors, non-neoplastic lesions, trauma, paralysis, fixation of vocal cords, congenital and systemic disorders. So let us first discuss about inflammations. Inflammations is further classified into acute and chronic. Now, as we all know, acute is acute laryngitis, and since common cold is a common condition, patients with common cold can have change in voice and acute laryngitis. Chronic specific conditions like tuberculosis, syphilis, non-specific, which is seen in smokers, chronic laryngitis, atrophic laryngitis, tumors, benign tumors or malignant tumors. Benign tumors are papilloma, hemangioma, chondroma, fibroma, leukoplakia of the vocal cords. So these tumors can form tumors in the vocal cords, and that can affect the approximation of the vocal cords as well as the stiffness of the vocal cords and cause change in voice. Malignant conditions, non-neoplastic lesions such as vocal nodules, vocal polyp, contact ulcer, vocal cord cyst, laryngocele amyloid deposit. Now you can see this picture where you can see vocal nodules. So these vocal nodules also affect the approximation of the vocal cord. The second picture is a picture of vocal cord cyst. This affects the stiffness of the vocal cord. Trauma, submucosal hemorrhage, as seen in case of forceful shouting when people go for rallies or concerts. They can have submucosal hemorrhage which causes hoarseness of voice. Laryngeal trauma, it can be blunt trauma to the neck which can cause change of voice. Intubation, during intubation the vocal cords can get damaged, and due to edema or dislocation of the cricoarytenoid joint, they can be hoarseness of voice. Paralysis, paralysis of the recurrent laryngeal nerve, superior laryngeal nerve, or both. Congenital conditions in the larynx such as laryngeal web, laryngeal cyst, laryngocele, vocal cord sulcus. The miscellaneous conditions like myxedema, dysphonia plica ventricularis. Systemic diseases also can cause hoarseness of voice, such as vaginous granulomatosis, amyloidosis, myasthenia gravis. Management. History taking is very important in a case of hoarseness. You should ask the mode of onset, whether it was acute in onset. Duration of illness. Is it 1 month, 2 months, or is it been there for a long time? Patient's occupation. Whether the patient is a singer, a teacher by profession, or he's a farmer. Habits. Smoking history should be taken in detail. Then alcohol consumption or any other habits which the patient has. And what we should remember is any hoarseness which persists for more than 2 weeks deserves examination of the larynx. And any patient who is more than 40 years of age, malignancy should be kept in mind when they come with hoarseness of voice. After a good history taking, we have to examine the larynx. So indirect laryngoscopy can be done, the laryngeal lesion can be diagnosed, but the disadvantages are that patient can gag and we cannot record the image in indirect laryngoscopy. Even though it is fast, inexpensive, and minimal equipment is required to do this procedure. Nowadays, with the advent of endoscopes, we have flexible fiber optic nasolaryngoscope as well as video laryngoscope. So both these help us not only to visualize better, but also we can record and we can show the patient the condition and what treatment is required. This is a rigid laryngoscope, 70 degrees or 90 degrees telescope. The advantages of this, it gives a very good optic image, it magnifies the image, and after recording the image, the patient can be shown this picture. Video stroboscopy. So in this investigation, it allows apparent slow motion assessment of mucosal vibratory dynamics and also video documentation. So you can see the picture in which the doctor is introducing the 98 degrees endoscope into the patient's mouth, and in the TV screen we can see the vocal cord movements and we can see the vocal cord movements in the vibratory dynamics which are required, and it is mainly used for singers, teachers to record their voice changes. The disadvantages of this is it's time consuming and it is expensive. Direct laryngoscopy helps, as well as microlaryngoscopy help in detailed examination of the larynx, biopsy if there is any lesion, and even assessment of mobility of the cricoarytenoid joints. Examination of the neck, chest, cardiovascular, and neurological systems are required in all cases, especially of hoarseness of voice, because any thyroid malignancy or lung malignancy can affect the recurrent laryngeal nerve and cause change of voice. Cardiovascular enlargement, left atrial enlargement, Ortner's syndrome can compress on the nerve and cause hoarseness of voice. And neurology, all the nerves should be examined. Laboratory investigations and radiological investigations depends on the history and the examination findings. Now direct laryngoscopy and microlaryngoscopy for detailed assessment, and bronchoscopy and esophagoscopy when you have to exclude malignancy. This slide shows the different modalities of investigating in a case of voice disorder. Now you can see the first picture shows indirect laryngoscopic examination. Above is the flexible fiber optic or transnasal examination, then the laryngoscopic examination, and using the direct laryngoscope. So these are the different methods which one can image the larynx in voice disorders. So treatment of hoarseness of voice depends upon the cause. You have to treat the cause. And in non-neoplastic conditions such as vocal nodules, they can be advised voice rest. If required, surgical techniques using cold instruments such as microlaryngoscopic techniques can be used. Dysphonia plica ventricularis, also known as ventricular dysphonia. In this condition, the voice is produced by the ventricular folds, also known as the false chords, which has taken over the function of the true chords. The voice here is rough, low-pitched and unpleasant, and there are mainly it can be due to functional cause or secondary to impaired function. Functional type of ventricular dysphonia occurs in a normal larynx. Here the cause is psychogenic. In this type, initially the patient speaks with a normal voice, but soon as the day goes it becomes rough when the false chords overtake the function of the true chords, and the diagnosis is mainly made by indirect laryngoscopy or laryngoscopic examination of the larynx. Secondary to impaired function. Now this is secondary to impaired function of the true vocal cord, such as due to paralysis, fixation, surgical excision of a part of the vocal cord, or tumors. In this condition, the ventricular bands try to compensate, or they try to assume the phonatory function of the true vocal cords. So diagnosis is made by video laryngoscopy, in which the false vocal cords approximate partially or completely, and they obscure the view of the vocal cords on phonation. So when you ask the patient say E or R, you can observe that only the false vocal cords approximately, and the vocal cords, true vocal cords, cannot be visualized. Treatment is to, it depends on the type. If it is due to the psychogenic cause, the patient should undergo voice therapy and counseling. And if it is secondary to any vocal cord cause, then you should reassure the patient. Functional aphonia or hysterical aphonia. This is seen in emotionally labile women between the ages of 15 to 30 years. And here the patient has sudden onset of aphonia. She may not be able to speak, and the patient mainly communicates in whisper. On doing video laryngoscopy, can be observed that the vocal cords are seen in the abducted position and they fail to adduct on phonation. But when you ask the patient to cough, the vocal cords adduct. So, and the cough also is very good. So, in a patient with vocal cord paralysis, when you ask them to cough, the vocal cord which is paralyzed will not adduct. But in a case of functional aphonia, you can see that both the vocal cords will adduct. So, this is an indicator that it is hysterical aphonia and it's a functional cause and not a structural cause. Main treatment for this is reassurance to the patient and psychotherapy, and to explain the patient that the larynx is normal and that only the patient, because of emotional stress, these symptoms have arisen. Puberphonia or mutational falsetto voice. So normal childhood voice is high pitched, and puberty in males the voice changes to low pitch, and that is because of lengthening of the vocal cords. Failure of this change leads to persistence of childhood high pitched voice, and this is called as puberphonia. This is seen in boys who are emotionally immature, they feel insecure, and they show excessive attachment to their mother. And the treatment for this condition is training them to produce a low pitched voice. This can be done by Gutzman pressure test. Now, in this test, the thyroid prominence is pushed in a backward and downward direction, and due to this, there is relaxation of the overstretched cords, and that produces a low tone voice. So the patient, on pressing his larynx, learns to produce low tone voice, and then he should train himself to produce syllables, words, and numbers. And the prognosis is good in this condition with good speech therapy. Dysphonia. It can be divided to three types: adductor, abductor, and mix. In adductor dysphonia, the adductor muscles of the larynx go into spasm, causing vocal cords to go into adduction, and the voice becomes very strained or strangulated, and the phonation is interrupted in between, leading to severe voice breaks. In abductor dysphonia, it is due to spasms of posterior cricoid muscle, and thus this keeps the glottis open. Patient gets a very breathy voice, or he breathes in breaks in voice. The condition is gradually progressive, and the symptoms get aggravated during periods of stress. So adductor dysphonia. So when you observe the larynx is morphologically normal. The etiology is uncertain, but neurological causes have to be ruled out, such as myasthenia gravis, Parkinsonism, pseudobellar palsy, multiple sclerosis. The treatment is botulinum injection, both for adductor as well as abductor dysphonia, and voice therapy. The treatment consists of botulinum toxin injections in the thyroid muscle on one or both sides to relieve spasm by using EMG, that is percutaneous electromyography guided route, through the cricothyroid space. As you can see in the picture, the needle is passed through the cricothyroid space into the thyroid muscle, and botulinum toxin is injected. Now, dose depends on severity of the condition, and toxin injections relieve voice breaks due to spasm, and it can last only up to 16 weeks or till a repeat injection may be needed. Voice therapy is also useful to improve voice. Even in abductor dysphonia, the treatment is injection of botulinum toxin to the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, and this can be done also by percutaneous or endoscopic route. The other voice disorders are rhinolalia clausa, also known as hyponasality, and rhinolalia aperta, known as hypernasality. Now, rhinolalia clausa is caused due to blockage of the nose and nasopharynx, and due to which there is lack of nasal resonance for words which are resonated in the nasal cavity, such as m, m, n, n. And rhinolalia aperta, called or hypernasality, it is seen when certain words have very little resonance, are resonated through the nose. That is, the nasopharynx becomes more large, and the defect is the failure of the nasopharynx to cut off from the oropharynx because of an abnormal communication between the oral and the nasal cavity, such as in case of soft palate palsy. So when that happens, there is very little nasal resonance through the nose. So these are the causes of hyponasality and hypernasality. Hyponasality, like I mentioned, anything in the nose and nasopharynx, like common cold, nasal allergy, nasal polyp, any nasal mass, malignancy, adenoids, nasopharyngeal mass. And hypernasality may be due to any abnormal communication between the nasopharynx and oropharynx due to velopharyngeal insufficiency, submucous palate, cleft of soft palate paralysis, post-adenoidectomy, oronasal fistula, familial or habitual speech pattern. Thank you.